Friends, welcome to my workplace at Ranaghat, West Bengal, India. Posterior capsular rent occurs even in the hands of experts. Sometimes we forget to take necessary precautions, and sometimes, in spite of taking all precautions, posterior capsular rent occurs. In this case, I could have taken some precautions, but I forgot to take those, and PC rent occurred. Let us see what happened. By this time, the capsular excis has been done, and now I'm going to crack this nucleus into several parts. The tip of the Phaco handpiece is buried into the substance of the nucleus. I go through the substance of the nucleus for some distance, and then I use the chopper to crack the nucleus into two parts. This is a very good crack, and now this is the second crack. What I could have done is I could have divided the nucleus completely into two halves and then divide the two halves into two parts. But in this case I didn't do that. This nuclear piece is free, and this one is also free, and I have removed these two. But these two fragments are joined to each other centrally, and here I am trying to crack it in smaller parts. This is okay. This nuclear part is free, and now see the tricky portion. This part is quite big, and there is no epinuclear support. Posterior capsule is very close. In such cases, I could have used a posterior capsular protector, PC protector, which I have devised, but I didn't use that, and here it is. PC rent occurs, and it is quite big. So I use reflux because some vitreous strand may come into the Phaco handpiece. Now I inject visco, stop irrigation, and come out. Posterior capsular rent is quite big. Vitreous has prolapsed into the anterior chamber and through the main incision outside. The portion of the vitreous which is outside the main wound is being excised by a Vanna scissor, and by this time my assistant is getting ready with a vitrectomy cutter. The machine being used is Ocular Cataract 3. It has pneumatic cutter. Cut rate it offers is 1200 cuts per minute. So I'm using 1200 cuts, and vacuum is 150. This is a 23G cutter. Irrigation is from the right, and cutter and aspiration from the left. I'm checking the cutter and aspiration. Now, before introducing the irrigation, I'm using the cutter and aspiration, and we can see that the antechamber is tending to collapse. But I am in the antivitreous, and before the chamber collapses, I use some irrigation. I don't want this nuclear fragment to sink into the vitreous, so I try to remove it just by irrigation. Yes, I have been used to remove this piece, and now some more vitreous has prolapsed through the main wound, so I am going to use the cutter here and cutting the strands at the level of the anterior capsular rim. I must take care not to cause damage to the anterior capsular rim, because I am going to place a multipiece intraocular lens in this case using this anterior capsular rim. Yes, now vitrectomy is going on very nicely. The cutter has been placed in the anterior vitreous, few millimeters behind the posterior capsular plane, say about 3-4 millimeter behind the posterior capsule, so that I don't pull the vitreous from behind. Rather, the vitreous strands that has come in the anterior chamber, that will go backward. Let me repeat this. Introduce the cutter in the anterior vitreous, few millimeters behind the posterior capsule, say 3 to 4 millimeter behind the posterior capsule. Place the cutter there and move slowly from one place to the next place, because you may pull the vitreous. So be sure that you have cut the vitreous strands and then move to the next spot. And now enough of vitrectomy has been done, and now cortical cleanup will be very easy. You can use anything, bimanual IA or this instrument. This is a 23G Simcoe, because there is no vitreous at these areas now, so cortex will come very nicely. You can see how nicely the cortex is coming, and you must see very nicely that I am not pulling any strands. So cortical cleanup is done very nicely. Introducing the Simcoe through the left, we can clean the cortex from 8 o'clock to from 7 o'clock to 10 o'clock. Introducing it from right, we can clean the cortex from 10 o'clock to 1 o'clock, and thus 360-degree cortical cleanup is performed. After cortical cleanup, a multipiece intraocular lens has been placed, in this case in the sulcus. This portion of the video has been edited. Now this is pilocarpine. I have not used triamcinolone acetate. In this case, I have faced some raised IOP with triamcinolone acetate. So in this case, I have not used it. I am taking help of pilocarpine and this Sinskey hook. I am trying to hook any strand if it is there. You can see there is no peaking of the pupillary margin. Pupil is round, so there is no vitreous in the anterior chamber. And now, after hydrating the side ports, this is the last step of the surgery. I am injecting a bit of moxifloxacin in the anterior chamber. About 0.05 ml of moxifloxacin has been injected. Undilated moxifloxacin has been injected into the anterior chamber. The integrity of the wounds are checked and the case is concluded. Here are some post-op pictures. Cornea is clear, anterior chamber is quiet, pupil is round, unaided vision is 6/18, intraocular pressure is 14 millimeter of mercury. A very satisfactory result. So if we manage posterior capsular range nicely, we can get very good outcome. Thank you very much for your attention. Hope this video will inspire you to learn to manage PC range very nicely.